Hello and welcome. In today's lesson, we'll continue with our series on quadratic equations and we will be learning how to solve them by completing the squares method. I trust that if you stay till the end of the video, you will have absolutely no problem solving any quadratic equations that you're presented with by this method. So we go on to the first example. We have that x squared minus 8x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now, the very first step in working with this method is to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1, absolutely important. And in this case, we have that the coefficient of x squared is 1, so we move on to the next step. The next step is to move the constant term over to the right-hand side of the equation. So we have x squared minus 8x is equal to minus 3. Remember, when minus 3, or rather when plus 3 moves over the equality sign, the sign changes. Now, the next step is to add the square of half of the coefficient of x to both sides of the equation. The square of half of the coefficient of x to both sides of the equation. In this case, the coefficient of x is minus 8. You have to be very careful with the sign. Half of minus 8 is equal to minus 4. And the square of this is minus 4 squared. So this is the quantity that we will add to both sides of the equation to complete the squares. So we have that x squared minus 8x plus minus 4 squared is equal to minus 3 plus, now minus 4 squared is equal to minus 4 times minus 4, and that is equal to 16. So we have 16 here. The next step is to take one x, take one of these and square them, and this is equal to 16 minus 3 is 13. Now, of course, what we do next is to take the square root of this to take care of this square. So we have that x minus 4 is equal to plus or minus square root of 13. And of course, x is, we add 4 to both sides of this equation. So we have that 4 plus or minus this is the answer. So you can either leave your answer in short form or you can evaluate it to however many number of decimal places that the question has told you to. Of course, you know that the roots of this equation is 4 plus square root of 13 and 4 minus square root of 13. Now, in this case, we have that x squared is equal to x plus 8. What we do is to subtract x from both sides of this equation. You have that x squared minus x is equal to 8. Now, of course, we have to check that the coefficient of x squared is 1, and in this case, it is. So the next step is to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides of the equation. And in this case, the coefficient of x is minus 1. Half of it is minus 1 over 2, and the square of that is this. So this is the quantity that we add to both sides of this equation to complete the squares. So we have that x squared minus x plus minus half squared is equal to 8 plus. Now, when you evaluate this, you have 1 over 4, because of course you know that this is half times this. This minus cancels itself and we have 1 over 4. So once more, you take one of this, you take one of this, and this is equal to 4 times 8 is 32 plus 1, 33 over 4. The next step is to take square roots. So we have that x minus half is equal to plus or minus square root of 33 over 4. And since this is a perfect square, we have that this is equal to plus or minus square root of 33 over 2. That is taking 4 out of the square root sign. So the next thing we do is to add half to both sides of this equation, and we have that x is equal to half plus or minus square root of 33 over 2. And since they have the same denominator, we can express this as 1 plus or minus square root of 33 divided by 2. So these are the two roots of this quadratic equation. Like I said before, you can use a calculator to evaluate this, or you can leave it in this form. Now, the next example is 2x squared minus 3x is equal to 6. You can see that already the constant term is on the right-hand side of this equation, so that step has been taken care of. The next thing is to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1, and in this case, it is not. So we divide through the equation by 2. So we have that x squared minus 3 over 2x is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now the next step is to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides of the equation. Now the question is, what is the coefficient of x? It is minus 3 over 2. Now what is half of this? It is this, which is minus 3 over 4. So what we are going to be adding to both sides of this equation is this quantity. So we have x squared minus 3 over 2x plus minus 3 over 4 squared is equal to 3 plus. Now we evaluate this. And when you do the square of this, you have that it is equal to 9 over 16. You take one of these. You take one of these. You square. And that is equal to, here we take LCM. So we have 16. 16 divided by 1 is 16 times 3 is 48 plus 16 divided by 16 is 1 times 9 is 9, and this is equal to 57 over 16. The next step is to take square root of both sides. So you have that x minus 3 over 4 is equal to plus or minus square root of 57 over 16. But since this is a perfect square, we can bring it out from under the square root sign. So this is equal to plus or minus square root of 57 divided by 4. So of course we have that x is equal to, we add minus 3 over 4, or rather we add 3 over 4 to both sides of the equation to give us 3 over 4 plus or minus square root of 57 over 4. Once more, we can leave the answer in this manner, or we can use a calculator to evaluate. So when we evaluate, we have that the roots of this equation are x equal to minus 1.14 or plus 2.64. So these are the roots of this quadratic equation. The next example is 5x squared plus 6x plus 1 is equal to 0. We make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. In this case, it is not, so we divide through by 5. So we have x squared plus 6 over 5x plus 1 over 5 is equal to 0. Now the next step is to send the constant term over to the right-hand side of the equation. So we have x squared plus 6 over 5x is equal to minus 1 over 5. The next step is to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides of the equation. Now, what is the coefficient of x? It is 6 over 5. What is half of 6 over 5? That is equal to 6 over 10. And the square of this, of course, is that. So this is what we add to both sides of this equation. By the way, we can reduce this down to lowest terms to give us 3 over 5. So we add this. So we have x squared plus 6 over 5x plus 3 over 5 squared is equal to minus 1 over 5 plus, this becomes 9 over 25. And of course, we take one of this, 3 over 5, and we square them. Then this is equal to, we take LCM, this is 25. 25 divided by 5 is 5 times minus 1, that is minus 5. And 25 divided by 25 is 1 times, this is 9 over 25. And this is equal to 4 over 25. Now the next step is to take square roots. So we have that x plus 3 over 5 is equal to plus or minus square root of 4 over 25. And this is a perfect square, both the numerator and the denominator. So this is equal to plus or minus 2 over 5. So we have that x is equal to plus or minus 2 over 5 minus 3 over 5. So we have that x is equal to 2 over 5 minus 3 over 5, or minus 2 over 5 minus 3 over 5. And this 2 minus 3 is minus 1 over 5, or minus 2 minus 3 is minus 5 over 5, and this is equal to 1. So x is equal to minus 1 over 5, or, sorry, this is negative, minus 1. So these are the two roots of this quadratic equation. The next example is 3 plus x minus x squared is equal to 0. Now, first of all, let us rearrange this equation. So we have minus x squared plus x plus 3 is equal to 0. Now, the question is the coefficient of x squared 1 here? It's not. The coefficient of x squared in this equation is minus 1. So to make it 1, we have to divide through the equation by minus 1. So we have that x squared minus x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now the next step is to take the constant term over to the right hand side of this equation. So we have x squared minus x is equal to 3. The next step is to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides of this equation. Now, what is the coefficient of x? It is minus 1. Half of that is this, and square of that is this. So this is the quantity that we will be adding to both sides of this equation, minus half squared. So we have that x squared minus x plus minus half squared is equal to 3 plus. Now, evaluating this, we have 1 over 4. So now we take one of this, and we square them. And this is equal to 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1, 13 over 4. Now we take square roots. We have that x minus half is equal to plus or minus square root of 13 over 4. Once more, this is a perfect square. So we can bring it out from under the square root sign to give us that this is equal to plus or minus square root of 13 divided by 2. So we have that x is equal to, now half, going over to that side, we have half plus or minus square root of 13 divided by 2. So this is half plus square root of 13 divided by 2, or half minus square root of 13 divided by 2. And evaluating this with a calculator, we have that x is approximately equal to 2.3 or minus 1.3. And these are the two roots of this quadratic equation. Now, the next example is we are going to be solving this by completing the squares method. So, of course, the first step is to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So we divide through the equation by the coefficient of x squared in this case, which is what? A. So we have x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. The next step is to take the constant term over to the right-hand side of the equation. So we have x squared plus b over ax is equal to minus c over a. Now the next step is to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides of this equation. Now what is the coefficient of x? It is b over a. And what is half of it? Half of it is equal to b over 2a. Because you know that b over a multiplied by half, which is half of it, is equal to b over 2a. And the square of this is simply, so this is the quantity that we will be adding to both the right-hand side and the left-hand side of this equation. So we have x squared plus b over ax plus b over 2a squared is equal to minus c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. Now here we can take LCM, and the LCM is 4a squared. 4a squared divided by a is 4a. 4a times minus c is minus 4ac. Now you have plus. 4a squared divided by 4a squared is 1. 1 times b squared is b squared. So we have that. Now the next step is to take one of these, that is x, and take one of these, that is plus b over 2a, and square it, of course. And this will be equal to b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. So now the next step is to take square root of both sides. So we have that x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. But once more, we see that the denominator, which is 4a squared, is a perfect square. So we can bring it out from under the square root sign to give us that x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Very good. So now to find the value of x, we have that x is equal to minus b over 2a plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now, since they have the same denominator, we can combine everything into one fraction. And we have that this is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And of course, we all know that this is the quadratic formula. So now we will be solving the very last equation with the quadratic formula. So here we have x is equal to x plus 4 divided by x minus 1. The first thing we do is to cross multiply. When you multiply this by this, you have x into x minus 1 is equal to this times this is x plus 4. Opening this bracket, we have x squared minus x is equal to x plus 4. Bringing everything over to the left-hand side of the equation, we have that x squared minus x minus x minus 4 is equal to 0. Collecting like terms, we have that x squared minus 2x minus 4 is equal to 0. So that tells us that for this quadratic equation, a is equal to 1, b is equal to minus 2, and c is equal to minus 4. And of course, we have that from the quadratic formula, x is equal to minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac divided by 2e. So we have minus 2 plus or minus square root of minus 2 squared minus 4 into a is 1 and c is minus 4 divided by 2 multiplied by 1. So we have that this is equal to 2 because minus minus is plus or minus square root of this is 4 minus minus is plus. 4 times 4 is 16 divided by 2. This is equal to 2 plus or minus square root of 20 divided by 2. Now, but we know that 20 is equal to 4 times 5. This is equal to 2 plus or minus square root of 4 times 5 divided by 2. And the square root of 4 is 2. So this is equal to 2 plus or minus 2 root 5 over 2. From here, we can factorize 2 out. So we have that x is equal to 2 into 1 plus or minus root 5 divided by 2. These two will cancel these two to give us that x is equal to 1 plus root 5 or 1 minus root 5. And these are the two roots of this quadratic equation. This brings us to the end of this lesson. If you have learned something, remember to like the video and share. If you have a problem with the video, you can dislike it, but make sure you tell me your problem in the comment section. Until the next time we see, be well.